Wealth does not come by accident. Wealth does not come by struggle. Wealth comes to those who know this truth, that supply is infinite, abundance is your birthright, and every good thing is already waiting for you in the unseen. When a man or woman awakens to this truth, lack loses its grip. Poverty melts like mist before the rising sun, for there is no such thing as shortage in the divine mine, only fullness, only supply, only more than enough. The universe is a storehouse overflowing, and your word is the key that unlocks the door. Speak lack, and lack will obey you. Speak wealth, and wealth will hasten to your side. For words are living forces, carriers of power, builders of destiny. If you dare to affirm, riches are mine, wealth flows to me, prosperity is my divine right, then unseen channels will open, and the tide of abundance will rise in your favor. But hear me well, this truth demands faith. Faith is the currency of heaven, and when you spend it boldly, the impossible becomes possible. Say yes when fear whispers no. Step forward when logic tells you to retreat. Act upon the inner guidance that stirs in your heart, for obedience to inspired action is the bridge from vision to manifestation. Gratitude seals the blessing. The thankful soul multiplies what it has and calls forth more. A grateful heart is magnetic, a beacon drawing wealth from every direction. Begin to thank for what you have and watch the invisible supply multiply in your hands. Do not struggle, do not toil. The anxious spirit repels what it longs for. Rest in the law, trust in the process, and wealth will flow like a river toward you. Just as water finds its level, so does money find its way to the one who knows it is theirs. See yourself as prosperous. Hold the vision of abundance, for vision creates provision. Whatever you dare to see with conviction, life will hasten to deliver. Paint the picture boldly in your imagination, and the substance of that picture will manifest before your eyes. Wealth is not a stagnant thing. It is a river meant to flow. Give, and it shall return. Circulate wealth, and you remain plugged into the eternal current. The hoarder dries up his channel, but the giver stays ever supplied. And above all, remember the great truth: wealth is yours by divine right. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now claim it, speak it, live it, and as surely as the dawn follows the night, wealth will come to you in overflowing measure. For wealth comes to those who know this truth, and now you know it. The divine law of wealth is not a mystery reserved for a chosen few, nor is it something to be chased endlessly through toil and struggle. It is a spiritual principle, timeless and eternal, woven into the very fabric of existence. Wealth flows not because of luck, chance, or manipulation, but because of alignment with divine order. The truth is that abundance already exists, waiting to be recognized and claimed by those who understand its source. The law declares that the universe is filled with limitless supply, and every man and woman has the right to draw from it without fear, hesitation, or doubt. To live under this law is to realize that scarcity is only an illusion, a false image created by fear, while wealth is the natural state of those who trust the unseen. Wealth is not manufactured by human will alone, but by the harmony of thought, word, and faith with the infinite. The one who dares to declare, "I am provided for, I am supplied, I live in abundance," steps into the current of the law and finds that opportunities, ideas, and resources begin to appear as if summoned by an invisible hand. The divine law of wealth responds to certainty. It does not yield to those who beg, plead, or worry. It responds only to those who speak and act as though it is already done. To know the law is to refuse fear, for fear starves the channel of supply, while faith multiplies it. Faith is the currency that unlocks the storehouse of heaven, and when it is spent freely, wealth rushes in from directions unexpected. Every word spoken and every thought held becomes a seed planted in the garden of supply. If one sows fear of loss, fear of poverty, or doubt in provision, the harvest will reflect that belief. But when the soil of the mind is filled with confident expectation, gratitude, and bold declarations of wealth, the harvest cannot help but be one of plenty. The divine law of wealth insists that the outer world is but a reflection of the inner. Those who know themselves as prosperous, who see themselves living in abundance even when the evidence of the senses says otherwise, draw to themselves the very conditions they have envisioned. Vision creates provision, and expectation becomes manifestation. This law is impartial and unwavering. Just as gravity pulls without judgment, the law of wealth responds without hesitation. It is not reserved for the rich, the educated, or the privileged. It is for the one who aligns, believes, and acts. To tap into this flow is not to strive harder, but to surrender more fully, to release the anxiety of struggle and lean into the certainty that all is already supplied. The one who trusts this law walks with quiet assurance, for they know that everything needed will arrive at the perfect time, often through channels they never could have imagined. The divine law of wealth is the great equalizer, for it stands above circumstance, above appearance, above every condition of lack, and it delivers to each according to their faith. The power of belief and word is the master key to the treasure house of life. For what one truly believes and what one boldly declares shapes the very substance of experience. Every circumstance, every condition, every opportunity is drawn by the silent magnet of belief and fastened into reality by the spoken word. When one understands this, they cease to take words lightly or beliefs casually, for they realize that nothing is neutral. Every belief is a seed, and every word is a command. Those who live in fear plant fear, those who live in doubt grow doubt, and those who live in lack speak lack until it becomes their portion. But those who dare to believe in abundance and speak with authority set in motion the forces that make wealth inevitable. Belief is more than thought. It is conviction. It is the inward knowing that precedes outward demonstration. To believe in poverty is to create the conditions of poverty, even if one works tirelessly to escape it. To believe in wealth is to attract wealth, even if one sees no immediate evidence. The law is always the same: as you believe, so it is done unto you. The power is not in circumstance, but in consciousness. For what the heart holds as truth, the world must eventually mirror back. A man convinced he is prosperous cannot remain poor, and a woman convinced she is rich will not live in lack. For their inner conviction will call forth channels of supply, ideas of increase, and opportunities to flourish. The spoken word carries the vibration of belief into form. Words are living things, creative forces, and once released, they set to work producing after their kind. To declare lack, even in jest, is to summon lack. To say, I cannot afford, is to decree limitation. But to declare, I am abundantly supplied, wealth flows to me, I have more than enough, is to call into action the very currents of prosperity. The word is a seed, and the universe is the fertile soil that never fails to bring forth what has been planted. A word spoken in fear will reproduce fear, and a word spoken in faith will reproduce abundance. This is why the disciplined soul guards the tongue. They do not speak idly of poverty or struggle, for they know that the universe takes them at their word. Instead, they speak boldly of riches, of success, of divine provision, even in the face of seeming lack. Their words become a prophecy that cannot fail, for the word, once spoken with belief, creates a vibration that cannot be denied. It goes forth, attracting people, resources, and conditions to fulfill its decree. Belief and word are inseparable partners. Belief without word lies dormant, and word without belief falls empty. But when belief fuels the word, power is released. To believe is to know, to expect, to see with the inner eye. To speak is to command, to declare, to call into form that which already exists in the unseen. When both are united, no force can oppose them, and wealth must flow as surely as the tide answers the pull of the moon. Those who grasp this truth cease to be victims of circumstance and become masters of supply, for they wield the creative power that has been theirs all along, the power of belief and the word. The truth behind lack is that it is nothing more than a shadow, a false image born from fear, doubt, and separation from the infinite source of supply. Lack has no foundation in reality, for in the divine there is only fullness, only abundance, only more than enough for every living soul. What men call poverty is not a condition of the universe, but a condition of thought. It is the projection of limited belief onto an unlimited world. The mind that believes in shortage, that clings to fear of not having enough, draws to itself the very conditions it dreads, until it seems that lack is real. Yet once that belief is cast out, the illusion dissolves, and the endless flow of supply reveals itself once more. The universe is rich beyond measure, and the storehouse of heaven never runs dry. Look at the stars scattered in countless numbers, the grains of sand beyond calculation, the endless renewal of the seasons. Everywhere is proof of the inexhaustible nature of life. If the earth itself knows no lack, how can man, made in the image of the infinite, truly lack anything? The truth is that every need has already been supplied in the invisible before it appears in the visible. What seems like emptiness is only the delay between seed and harvest, between thought and manifestation. The soul that holds fast to this truth will not be shaken by appearances, for they know that the unseen abundance is greater than any temporary circumstance. Lack gains power only when it is believed. It is fed by anxious words, by fearful thoughts, by confessions of limitation. To say, "I cannot afford," or "there is not enough," is to open the door to the very poverty one wishes to escape. The truth behind lack is that it thrives on agreement. Withdraw agreement, refuse to accept its lie, and it must vanish, for it has no substance of its own. The one who refuses to acknowledge lack, who instead declares boldly, "I am abundantly supplied, I walk in divine provision, I have more than enough," shifts their consciousness from shadow to substance. Then the outer world begins to rearrange itself in alignment with that declaration, and channels of supply open in unexpected ways. Struggle and striving often deepen the illusion of lack, for they fix the mind on what is missing rather than what is present. The more one chases, the further the goal seems to retreat. But when one rests in faith, affirming that all is already given, the burden lifts and the supply appears with ease. It is the anxious spirit that starves its channel, while the trusting soul finds doors opening without effort. Lack is powerless against one who lives in gratitude, who gives thanks for every blessing, no matter how small, and who magnifies what they have through appreciation. Gratitude multiplies, and lack cannot survive in its presence. The great truth to know is this: lack is not real, it is a shadow cast by fear. When fear is cast out, lack disappears. The reality of life is abundance, overflowing and unending. When a man or woman dares to believe this truth, to speak it, to live in alignment with it, the illusion of lack dissolves, and wealth flows in as naturally as the dawn dispels the night. The wealth of obedience is the treasure unlocked when one listens to and follows the quiet yet powerful voice of divine guidance. Within every soul is an inner compass, a whisper from the infinite, directing the steps of those who are willing to hear. This guidance does not always come with thunder or great signs, but often in stillness, in intuition, in the sudden idea that flashes across the mind. When obeyed, These inner promptings open doors no human effort could have forced and lead to provision no toil could have earned. Obedience is the bridge between the vision of abundance and its visible manifestation. Many cry out for wealth, yet they turn deaf ears to the very instructions that would bring it forth. To obey is to trust, and to trust is to position oneself under the flow of unlimited supply. There is a divine order moving through every life, a perfect plan unfolding with precision, and those who align with it are never left without provision. Disobedience, however, creates delay, detours, and dry places. When one insists on forcing their own way, striving by personal will, they step out of alignment with the river of supply. Yet when they yield, when they lay down fear and follow the inner prompting, even when it seems illogical or risky, they discover that wealth flows easily, sometimes through channels they could never have imagined. The wealth of obedience lies not only in money, but in peace, in favor, in opportunities, and in connections divinely arranged. These are riches beyond what mere striving could ever attain. Obedience requires faith, for the inner direction often points to paths unseen. It may say, "Give here," when logic argues to hold tightly. It may say, "Step forward," when appearances suggest waiting. It may say, "Speak," when fear insists on silence. Yet each act of obedience plants a seed, and that seed produces a harvest that multiplies beyond measure. Many miss their blessing because they dismiss the small nudge, the gentle direction that seems too simple or insignificant. But wealth often hides in obedience to the small, the act of sowing, the choice to trust, the willingness to move in faith. All these open doors to greater supply. The obedient heart walks in confidence, for it knows that the path is guided, no longer burdened by endless worry about how provision will come. It rests in the assurance that every step brings it closer to visible abundance. The wealth of obedience is security, for it guarantees that one is always in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, encountering the right opportunities. What others chase in desperation, the obedient soul receives with ease, for they are walking in harmony with divine timing. True wealth is not in hoarding or striving, but in the flow of divine provision that never ceases. Obedience keeps one connected to that flow, as a branch to the vine, as a river to its source. When one listens and acts, supply becomes natural, continuous, and effortless. This is the wealth of obedience, the prosperity that follows alignment with the inner voice of truth, the abundance that comes not through strain, but through surrender, the riches that are drawn not by force, but by faith. The secret of gratitude is that it transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, the little into the much, and the unseen into the seen. Gratitude is more than a polite gesture or a fleeting feeling. It is a spiritual force, a magnet that draws abundance from every direction. When one gives thanks, they align themselves with the rhythm of divine supply. Gratitude is the song of the soul that declares, "I already have enough. I already am blessed. I already walk in abundance." And this declaration multiplies itself in visible form. What the ungrateful dismiss as small, the grateful magnify until it becomes great. Gratitude takes what is present and opens the door for more to flow. Every word of thanksgiving is a seed planted in the soil of the universe. It does not return empty. A thankful heart creates fertile ground for miracles, for it shifts focus away from what is missing and magnifies what is already present. The one who constantly says, "I have nothing," or "it is never enough," closes the door to abundance. But the one who says, "I am thankful for this gift. I am grateful for this opportunity. I rejoice in this provision," finds that more is added unto them in ways that defy logic. The law is certain. What is praised expands, what is thanked multiplies, and what is honored grows. Gratitude has the power to dissolve lack, for lack cannot survive in the atmosphere of thanksgiving. A man who looks at his empty purse with despair will see it grow emptier still, but a man who gives thanks even for the smallest coin begins to call wealth to himself. Gratitude releases fear, softens doubt, and creates an inner certainty that there is always more on the way. To say thank you, even before the blessing appears, is to act as though it is already done, and this faith draws the unseen into the visible. Gratitude is faith in action. It is the language of abundance spoken before the evidence appears. The secret of gratitude is that it does not depend on circumstance. Anyone can be thankful when riches overflow and doors swing open, but the one who masters gratitude in the barren place, who gives thanks in the wilderness, who praises in the dark, that one holds the true secret. For gratitude in the unseen pulls blessings into the seen. To rejoice over the promise is to hasten the manifestation. Gratitude is a declaration of trust, a way of saying, though I do not yet see it, I know it is mine, and I am already rejoicing in it. That energy calls forth supply with irresistible force. The grateful soul walks in joy, and joy itself is magnetic. People are drawn to them, opportunities open, and favor follows. Gratitude not only multiplies money, but attracts peace, health, love, and every good thing. It shifts the atmosphere around a person, turning obstacles into stepping stones and delays into divine appointments. This is the secret of gratitude. It unlocks the storehouse of heaven, multiplies the gifts of earth, and ensures that the river of wealth never runs dry for the one who is thankful in all things. Faith as currency is the great exchange of the spiritual world, the invisible wealth that purchases visible abundance. Just as money in the material realm allows one to buy goods and services, faith is the coin of heaven that unlocks doors, secures provision, and brings forth supply from the unseen into the seen. To the natural eye, faith looks like nothing. It cannot be held in the hand or stored in the bank, but in truth it is more powerful than any earthly treasure. Faith is belief made alive, expectation set in motion, conviction clothed in action. It is the assurance that what is promised already exists, and the boldness to act as though it is already yours. Those who spend faith with confidence find themselves surrounded by wealth, favor, and miracles, for the universe responds unfailingly to the one who dares to believe. Faith is never passive. It does not wait idly for conditions to change. It speaks, it moves, it declares, it acts. It says, though I see nothing, I believe everything. Though I hold nothing, I have everything. Faith dares to give thanks before the manifestation arrives. Faith steps forward into opportunity, even when the path seems uncertain. Faith obeys the quiet whisper of divine instruction, knowing that unseen supply will meet each step. When faith is spent in this way, the storehouse of heaven opens wide, and provision flows from unexpected channels. The world may say, "How can this be?" But faith answers, because it is already done. To treat faith as currency is to recognize that every need can be met when faith is exercised. Just as one goes to a marketplace with money in hand, so one approaches life with faith in heart, knowing that what is required will be supplied. Fear is counterfeit currency. It pretends to have power, but produces only emptiness. Doubt is a worthless coin, never accepted in the marketplace of heaven. But faith is always honored, always accepted, always returns with increase. The one who spends fear will reap lack, but the one who spends faith will reap wealth, for faith draws substance out of the unseen and clothes it in form. Faith grows stronger the more it is used. To hold back faith is to allow it to weaken, but to exercise it boldly is to expand its power. Every act of faith, no matter how small, becomes a seed that multiplies. Giving when it seems impossible, praising when it seems hopeless, stepping forward when it seems risky. These are the transactions of faith that yield great returns. Faith never diminishes in the giving, it multiplies. The more one spends it, the more it increases, until it becomes an unstoppable force that reshapes destiny. Faith as currency is not limited by economy, by circumstance, or by the appearance of lack. While earthly money can be lost, stolen, or devalued, faith remains untouched by conditions. It is anchored in eternal truth, not temporary appearances. The one who carries faith walks as a wealthy soul, never without, never in want, for they know that at any moment they can spend their faith and receive exactly what is needed. Faith is the gold of the spirit, the silver of the soul, the true wealth that undergirds all visible prosperity. When faith is spent boldly, the universe pays in full, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. The release of struggle is the gateway to effortless abundance, for struggle is born of the belief that provision comes by human effort alone, while true wealth flows through alignment with divine law. Struggle is the heavy weight carried by those who imagine themselves cut off from the source, believing they must claw, fight, and grasp for every good thing. But in truth, no one needs to force open a door that has already been unlocked. The supply of life is endless, the channels of abundance are many, and the river of prosperity flows freely to all who learn to let go. Struggle closes the hands, but faith opens them. Struggle tightens the heart, but trust expands it. Struggle says, I must make this happen, while faith says, it is already done. To release struggle is not to embrace passivity, but to embrace divine flow. It is to cease pushing against the tide and instead move with it, knowing that the current carries you to your appointed place. The world teaches that sweat and strain are the price of success, but the higher law declares that rest in spirit produces more than toil in flesh. When one rests inwardly, their mind clears, ideas come, opportunities are recognized, and inspired action produces multiplied results. Struggle clouds vision, while release brings clarity. Those who strive endlessly often miss the very chance they seek, while those who let go find that the chance arrives at their feet without effort. The release of struggle is an act of faith. It is to look lack in the face and say, I do not bow to you. My supply comes from a higher place. It is to take the burden of provision off one's shoulders and place it into the hands of the infinite. When this transfer occurs, anxiety dissolves and peace takes its place. And in that peace, wealth flows, for peace is the fertile ground in which prosperity grows. The anxious spirit repels abundance, but the calm heart attracts it. Release is not weakness, it is the strongest declaration of trust. It is saying, I am no longer driven by fear. I am guided by certainty that every need is already met. The struggle to prove oneself, to outwork, to outmaneuver, often leaves the soul weary and the hands empty. But the release of struggle restores vitality and brings supply in unexpected ways. One idea born in peace is worth more than 100 plans forged in strain. One step taken in obedience is worth more than 1,000 taken in panic. Release allows inspiration to flow, and inspiration brings with it the provision to fulfill itself. Those who live by struggle live in scarcity, but those who release live in abundance, for they have tapped into the effortless rhythm of divine supply. The truth is that wealth was never meant to be forced. It was meant to flow. The moment struggle is released, the channel unblocks, and prosperity rushes in like water freed from a dam. To release struggle is to declare, I trust, I receive, I rest in the law of abundance. And in that rest, the miracle unfolds, the doors swing wide, and the wealth that seemed far off comes swiftly, without toil, without strain, without struggle. Vision creates provision because what the mind can clearly see, the spirit can confidently attract. Every fortune, every invention, every achievement that ever graced the world began first as an image in the unseen. Vision is the seed of supply, and when it is planted with faith, it produces harvests beyond imagination. To live without vision is to wander in circles, but to live with vision is to walk straight into abundance. The inner eye, when focused, calls forth opportunities, connections, and resources that align with the picture it beholds. The one who dares to hold a great vision never walks in lack, for life itself bends to deliver what is required for its fulfillment. Provision does not arise out of chance or accident. It flows in response to vision. The person who sees only limitation will continually encounter lack, but the one who sees with clarity and expectancy will always be supplied. Vision pulls from the unseen warehouse of possibility, drawing into form what already exists in spirit. Just as an architect's blueprint precedes the building, vision precedes the manifestation of wealth. To dream without fear, to imagine without restriction, to picture the good one desires as already real. This is the creative power that makes provision inevitable. The world often tells us to be realistic, which is another way of saying, limit your vision to what you can see now. But the law of life says the opposite. Stretch your sight, dare to envision the impossible, and the provision will come to match it. The vision is the magnet, and provision is the iron drawn to it. Small vision calls forth small supply, while expansive vision summons abundance on a grand scale. Vision enlarges the soul, and an enlarged soul cannot be kept small by circumstances. Those who lack provision often do not lack resources but lack vision. A closed eye cannot see the open door. When vision awakens, doors that were hidden swing wide, and paths that seemed blocked suddenly open. Vision reveals possibilities that struggle could never uncover. It shows a future so vivid that the present cannot resist reshaping itself to match. Provision rushes toward the one who holds vision because vision acts as both command and invitation. It commands the unseen to take shape and invites the seen to rearrange itself in obedience. Faith fuels vision, and gratitude sustains it. To see a future of abundance and give thanks for it now is to set provision in motion. The grateful visionary is never empty-handed, for they know that supply is already on the way. The power lies not in asking how it will come, but in holding the vision with unwavering certainty. The how belongs to the higher law, the what belongs to the one who dares to envision. And as the vision strengthens, the provision multiplies, flowing through channels both expected and miraculous. Vision creates provision because it is the very law of creation. Life cannot deny a clear and faith-filled picture, for what is seen within must eventually be seen without. The inner picture paints the outer world, and the wealth of imagination becomes the wealth of experience. When vision is bold, provision is abundant. When vision is faithful, provision is unfailing. And when vision is unshakable, provision is unstoppable. The eternal flow is the ceaseless rhythm of life, the never-ending current of supply that moves from source to creation, from creation back to source, and onward without interruption. It is the river of abundance that has no beginning and no end, and all who learn to align with it find themselves carried effortlessly toward fulfillment. Nothing in nature hoards or withholds. The ocean gives to the cloud gives to the rain gives to the earth, and the earth gives back to the ocean. This eternal flow ensures that nothing is ever lost, only transformed, circulated, and renewed. To resist it is to stand still in stagnation, but to release into it is to experience limitless wealth and harmony. Those who fear lack grasp tightly to what they hold, believing that giving diminishes them. Yet, in the eternal flow, giving is the very act that multiplies. To let wealth, love, and kindness move through you is to keep the river open. A stream that refuses to flow soon becomes dry, but one that moves freely is constantly replenished. So it is with life. When you give generously, you draw provision from unseen channels. When you release without fear, you invite increase without measure. The law of circulation is not merely a principle, but an eternal law written into the very fabric of existence, ensuring that no one is ever cut off from supply unless they themselves choose to block the flow. The eternal flow is impartial. It does not favor one above another, but it responds perfectly to belief and action. Those who expect abundance, give with joy, and receive with gratitude find themselves continually supplied. Those who cling in fear, doubt, or resentment place obstacles in the stream and wonder why the waters have slowed. The truth is that the flow is constant. It is the channel of the soul that must remain open. Faith, generosity, and gratitude are the keys that widen the channel, while fear, greed, and complaint constrict it. In this flow, wealth is never a fixed possession, but a moving energy. It passes through hands, homes, and hearts, always on its way to create more life, more expansion, more joy. To align with this eternal circulation is to know that what you give will always return, often multiplied and in unexpected ways. This knowledge frees the soul from grasping and striving, for it recognizes that the source is infinite and the supply is unending. The eternal flow asks only that you trust enough to release, that you believe enough to receive, and that you remain open enough to circulate what comes to you. When one lives in harmony with the eternal flow, there is no fear of loss, for loss is an illusion. What seems to leave returns in a new form. What seems to diminish is only making space for increase. Just as day follows night without fail, so supply follows faith, provision follows vision, and wealth follows circulation. The eternal flow is life's great assurance, whispering that abundance is not earned through struggle, but inherited through alignment. When you step into this current, you need never fear again, for the river carries you, surrounds you, and sustains you in every season of your journey. The central truth is that all power, all supply, all wisdom, and all wealth flow from the infinite source, and nothing is separate from it. To grasp this truth is to awaken from the illusion of lack, fear, and limitation, for every shadow of struggle is only the absence of recognition of this divine reality. The central truth is simple yet profound. Life is not against you, provision is not withheld from you, and the universe is not indifferent to you. Instead, all of creation is conspiring to deliver what aligns with your belief, your vision, and your word. To forget this truth is to live as though disconnected, but to remember it is to live in freedom, prosperity, and peace. The central truth is that within every individual lies a divine inheritance, untouched by circumstance. The wealth one seeks is not created by labor alone, nor is it granted by the permission of others. It is already present as part of one's eternal birthright. What appears as external provision is but the reflection of inner recognition. When one acknowledges this truth and lives from it, they no longer chase after supply. They magnetize it. They no longer beg for opportunities. They create them. They no longer fear the closing of one door, for they know another will swing wide in divine timing. Every limitation, whether financial, emotional, or physical, is born of forgetting the central truth. People believe they are victims of chance, prisoners of conditions, or servants of an unforgiving world. Yet the truth remains unshaken. The power that spoke worlds into being dwells within and through every soul. To speak words of lack is to deny the central truth, but to speak words of faith is to release its power. To act in fear is to resist it, but to act in obedience is to flow with it. The central truth cannot be broken, only ignored, but the moment it is remembered, the chains of struggle dissolve. The central truth also teaches that abundance is never outside of reach, for it exists in the eternal now. Wealth is not something one must wait for or hope for. It is already flowing, waiting only for recognition. Just as light fills a room the instant a switch is turned, provision fills life the moment one aligns with this truth. Faith is the switch, gratitude is the confirmation, and vision is the direction that channels the flow. Those who live by the central truth do not measure life by appearances, but by certainty that all they need is already provided in spirit, ready to take form. When the central truth is embraced, fear loses its grip, struggle loses its appeal, and doubt loses its voice. A person anchored in this truth walks with confidence, speaks with authority, and gives with joy, for they know that supply is infinite and their source is unshakable. The central truth does not change with the tides of circumstance. It remains eternal, unwavering, and reliable. And when one chooses to build life upon it, they step into the realm where wealth is natural, provision is constant, and miracles are simply the order of the day.